actually something we actually believe. We actually accept that you can separate your prayers into 5 time, and that's okay in Shia. And generally, according to the guidelines, generally the time that they regard as the time of fadila is actually, they regard as the time of obligation. We regard that as a time of fadila. So if you want to practice that, that's okay. I mean, it's not that it's just a matter of throughout the time or years, it has become like a symbol for Shia to combine prayers. But it's not the obligation to combine prayers in Shia.
Thank you, Sheikh. Yes.
Yeah, I was going. Yeah, Brother Ahmed made it very somehow serious. Actually, we had in mind to have a session of jokes tonight. Actually, last night I was going. Last night I was going to say nobody can enter the session unless she or he provides the session with some jokes and something, some experience, some stories, some memories from the Ramadan that you had in the past. And yeah, in Ramadan, things like this happen. Let me give you one of my, I remember, I didn't plan to say this, but let me say this. And hopefully others also go on. They say their happy memories of Ramadan. So I used to go to a masjid for Ramadan. And then we used to go there after the sahur for Fajr prayer. And I was the imam in the masjid. So it was in summer, long days, and we used to drink a lot of water in sahur. And we had the false assumption that, or the false belief that if you drink a lot of water in sahur, so you will have a better day and you will not feel thirsty. And later on, we realized that was a false belief. But however, we would practice it. So I would drink a lot of water and eat up until here. So I was in the masjid, and I was reciting iqama for the salat, salatul fajr, and everybody was waiting. And there was this little friend, a teenager, holding the mic for me to recite, and everybody would listen. So it was like the mic was. So I sensed that I was going to have the sound that the, what do you call it, the burp, right? So because I had eaten a lot, so I tried to take away my face so the sound doesn't go to the mic. That little friend would bring the mic here. As much as I would try to take away from the guy, he would like insist, okay, Sheikhna, say what you want to say. So I realized there is no use. I just with my hand said, brother, wait some seconds. So yeah, I just remembered this. Yeah, go ahead with your memories or whatever that from Ramadan you have, and or questions. If you want to make it serious, I don't have any problem. But I said maybe it's good in this night we have. Tomorrow is Eid there, right?
For some people.
How many followers? Yeah.
Official announcement were made, or?
There's, because of different maraja taqleed is a different situation, so you have a different interpretation. So, but a large proportion will have their Eid tomorrow, as of now.
Okay. I thought Europe you're in a better condition in Europe, but I see the difference of the opinions also is okay.
Yeah, sorry for serious answer.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah, we'll have a large majority of it tomorrow. Demir, what is this, a joke you're going to say, or?
No, it's just, I was going to say we had a quiz today, and it was actually quite fun. We had 30 questions, and I was like, you know what? I'm not an expert in Quran, so I'm just going to put my trust in Allah, and I'm going to answer as best as I can. And I even guessed 3 of the answers, and I ended up being 5th. So as a runner-up, I am going to get some prize.
Oh, out of how many you were the first? You were the 5th.
I think there were like 11 people. So at the first question, I was like at the bottom, and then towards the end, I ended up being 5th. So I'm going to get a runner-up prize.
Sheikh, now we can use this to talk about the jihad, the struggle of life, and how we have to keep struggling even though we might.
Yeah, it's a good example.
We must address this. We must address this.
There's a proverb in Farsi. They say there's hope in the last step. That you think this is useless. Exactly when you think this is useless, if you take that a step, it opens the gate for success for you. So yeah, brother, Demir had that experience. So can we say what topic was that? That contest?
Well, it was just a quiz on the knowledge of Quran, like different questions, like which surah was revealed first, what's the longest surah,
good,
you know,
good.
That kind of thing.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I don't know if you don't mind. I think there's another fiqh question to ask as well. So maybe we can start initially with just some big general fiqh before we get into more serious topics. But Sister Farhat, do you want to say it or?
You can say it.
Okay, so basically there's a question basically on the best time to do ghusl. So as at the moment in terms of related to Eid. So some would say to do it just before the Maghrib or just after Maghrib, as in the night of Eid, so forth. What's the advice and most recommended act in this?
Well, as far as I can remember, there's a ghusl for the night of Eid, and it should be done at the beginning. There's something called the head of the night, which means the beginning hours of the night. So this is for the night. And there is something, one ghusl for the day of the Eid, which should be done. I mean, it's recommended to be done simultaneously with the sunrise. So you can check in your calendar which hour there's the sunrise. So you be in the shower and then you do that.
Alhamdulillah. Ibrahim.
Sorry,
Sorry. Oh, Farah, yes, Farah. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, if you only wanted to do it once, which one would be preferable? Even for the one tomorrow, so that makes it 3, one before Maghrib, one at sunrise, and there's one tomorrow. So if you were only to do one, I could do all 3, but I'm just asking if there was a preference, which one would it be?
Me personally, and it's not a criterion for anything, but I had this thought that I do the one that is connected to the Salat of Eid, so that I perform the Salat of Eid with that ghusl, right? Because the peak of the Eid is the Salat, and then if I were to choose which one, to pick which one, I would have picked, and I did this in the previous years, that I would have done the one that is closer to the Salat of, which is at the sunrise.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ibrahim, you had a question.
Yeah, so it's actually in relation to Salat al-Eid. Obviously, this year, or unfortunately, there's no Jama'ah. So what would be, let's see, a good suggestion or alternative?
Yeah, best case scenario or ideal thing is that for you to organize celebration at home with your family, friends. If you live somewhere that you have some roommates or whatever, so you organize a celebration, and then in the morning you wake up people, and then you get together. You have a good little treat, and then you do the salat together. One of you will be the imam, and it's very easy. I mean, so there are some du'as, long du'as that people do in the qunut, but it's not necessary actually. Whatever prayer, like the morning prayer, Fajr prayer, you perform, but you have 5 qunut in the first rak'ah, 4 qunut in the second rak'ah. That is Salatul Eid. So whatever surah you recite, whatever dua, even if you say 5 salawats, you say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, and you again say salawat, that would be enough. So those long du'as are just recommended things, not just necessary constituent of the salah. I remember once I was at the beginning years of my hawza, so we attended the prayer Eid of Ayatollah Bahjat. So what he did was this: in one of the qunut, he recited one of those long du'as, and in another he recited Dua al-Faraj. In one of them he recited just Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana, very simple ones, right? So you do a salat, short salat, and if you don't have any like gathering, even one or two, you do it by yourself alone. And there are also, I think there are on YouTube some of the ulama, some of the shuyukh, they have explained how to do it alone, or if you can have a small jama'ah at home, that would be better, because it's very important to create and leave happy memory with your family members, with your children. Try to give them little gifts, decorations. So we do this for the birthday. And there is a discussion about the egoistic part of that effect that it has on people, that I'm very important to have birth. But if you do it with these occasions, so that your children, I'm not saying birthdays are bad or whatever. I'm saying the same way that we try to make them happy in that occasions, it's good to leave a good memory, happy memory. Little treats, and kids, I mean, our kids, they get happy with little gift. For you guys, I don't know, but my kids, if you give them like a candy, they're really happy for hours. So
I think the threshold's a bit higher in Scotland. The Yes, and Demir, you've also unmuted there. Oh, but just on that point, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Hilli is actually one of who used to come.
Yeah.
He's come to Glasgow. He's released
video on YouTube. It's there, yes.
On YouTube, yeah. So I think it was filmed through the Noor Islamic Foundation. But yeah, you can look up that, and it explains the easy way and the more
complicated way.
More mustahab way, if you want.
Yeah, it's like the airport example that they said. There are lots of options, and it's not necessary for you to take all of those options. So you go with the basics, and then if you wanted a side dish, you take those side dish.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? You just feel free just to unmute, and then we can hear. It looks like, oh, Demir's hogging the microphone. Go for it.
Oh, just a quick question. Is it okay to pray Salatul Eid individually?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what I did, I actually printed out Surah Shams on a sheet of paper, because I actually have trouble remembering it, some of the ayahs.
First of all, as I said, Surah Shams, Surah Al-A'la, Surah Al-Shams in the
second.
Yeah, Surah Al-Shams in the second, Surah Al-A'la in the first. This is again one of the optional things. You can just recite Surah Qul Huwallah and Surah Al-Anzalna, that's okay. But if you want to be more complete, then you recite these two, and that's perfectly okay for you to keep a Quran with yourself, to keep a dua book, to recite those duas in the qunut or write it down with yourself, as long as there's something, there's the framework for this is that they call it the hay'a of prayer, the shape of prayer. As long as you keep the shape of prayer, that's okay. So whatever things that you do, like holding a book in front of yourself, does not destroy that shape of prayer, and that's good, and you can do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Demir. By the way, please feel free, if you've got any more questions, just ask. I don't mind.
Yeah, not just questions. You were supposed to give us some little treats. So yeah, it's a good thing to. It's a part of this. We have also a hadith for this, that sometimes you don't have money to treat people, but you can treat people with your smile or happy face. So putting into the context of the celebration of the Eid, sometimes maybe you don't have time to, or you don't have money. I hope nobody is like that, to have a celebration at home. But you can make it that your children, your family members, your friends realize that you have a different attitude today, right? You're happier, and you try to laugh even without any reason. So question: if a Muslim dies in a freak accident, there's a hadith. Let me read the question. The question says, if a Muslim dies in a freak accident, are they called martyrs? There's a hadith that says these people, they have a reward equal to the reward of the martyrs. Not that they have the title. Officially, we cannot call them martyrs, but we have the hadith that they will be received by Allah. Their soul will be received by angels in the way that martyrs' souls are received by angels. Yes, we have that. But just to keep the honor of martyrs, officially we are not allowed to call them martyrs. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we have to keep the, for example, you can say this person is very knowledgeable. His knowledge as he is at the level of a PhD person, but officially we cannot say he is a doctor or he is PhD, right? Because we have to observe that formalities. So, but yes, nonetheless, it doesn't change any fact. He is very knowledgeable, even more than PhD people, but officially. So yes, some people might have the reward of martyr, and there's a list for such people, but officially we can't call them martyrs. Okay. Tomorrow in the afternoon there is a session of prayer with Sheikh
Yes.
Shomali.
I was going to announce it at the end. So, but we will, inshallah, there will be a community session. There'll be a link posted later on tonight, inshallah, to remind everyone. But tomorrow there'll be a group prayer. And on this occasion, the Christian community, specifically the Catholic community of Scotland, has come together, and they wanted to show their solidarity with the Muslims, and they are marking the prayer together, inshallah. So we'll have Dr. Shomali leading, and we have Bishop McGee as well, who will be also reciting, and it's going to be joined on a Zoom session, inshallah. So something.
So in terms of the Christian community in Scotland, Catholics are the majority?
I can't remember, but off the top of my head, someone could probably chip in. But originally, Scotland's actually a Protestant. Is the head of Protestant movement. So they would have quite a significant. The Church of Scotland is quite a significant part of it, but such as the Roman Catholic Church is also very significant here. I don't know the specific numbers in that sense. I think actually no religion came out as the highest denomination.
Okay. So I'm saying in this session only Catholics will participate. Not,
the messaging has been sent to all the churches in Scotland. So, but specifically the network that's working with the interreligious dialogue is Catholic based.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What's the limit of the highest number of people who can join in a Zoom meeting? There's no limit?
Well, we had 200 the other day, so I think we can go up to 200.
Good.
Yes, Farah has just reminded us about, I think it's maybe related to our question as well, about the people that accident that happened in Pakistan, where unfortunately, tragically, we had so many people die, as well as the people not only in the plane but also in the village that it crashed into.
Oh, that's sad. I didn't know this. So they were like, how many?
There was 107 on the plane, and it crashed very close to the airport, but it's a very busy suburb of the city. So
let's recite a Fatiha for those. Sometimes when such accidents happen, we actually have more emotional suffering than those who are in the accident itself. And I just want to share one story. One of our relatives from my in-laws, so they had a very tragic car accident, and they died, like 4 of them in a car accident, and only a sister remained from the whole family. That sister, because it was very tragic, that sister was in so much emotional pain, that always thinking about how they died, like it was very painful and things like this. So she had a dream. In that dream, she saw her own sister who was in the accident. And the sister told him her name. Why do you cry so much over this accident? By Allah, wallahi, I did not know that I have died until I saw you crying and repeating my name. It was so smooth for us. It happens. There's actually, I'm not an expert, I mean, talking to medical experts here, it's very difficult, but it can be, it's possible that the shock is so huge that the person doesn't understand the pain. He goes suddenly in the state of consciousness, or he has heart attack or whatever, that he forgets later on. I don't know. Like when those people who goes through recovery and they come back, so they don't remember any of the pain of the accident itself. So they say, for example, we just saw a light and then we are here in the hospital. So exactly, it happens for the death, that those who die, they might most probably not go through the pain that we think they have gone through, right? So she said, yes, why do you cry so much? Wallahi, when I saw you are so crying so much and repeating my name, it was then that I realized that I'm in the state of death and I have passed that. It's good sometimes for those who are, they actually, they are obsessed, they have this obsession of thinking about the incident. They have dream nightmares about how my brother died, how my sister died, and they think a lot about it. Because from outside it's very tragic, it's very scary, but it might be very possible that some of them, at least not all of them, that some of them did not experience the pain as we see from the outside. I don't know, am I right, Dr. Ahmed, who is you're more expert in this regard?
I'll refer to Sonia, actually. She's a anesthetist, so she'll definitely have that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people say that that's right, but yeah, but it's very difficult to, yeah, I can't tell you this all the science on the sort of top of my head. There's a lot of people have reported near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences as well, when they've been very sort of close to death and looking down and observing themselves, and it's been quite a peaceful and experience that they've liked and so on. Yeah, sorry, I don't really know much more about it than that, I have to say.
It's quite interesting, actually. It just reminded me of a point where in the dental field there was a person who needed a tooth extraction, and they did it without any anesthetic. Now you think getting an injection in the first place, getting a tooth out in the first place is going to be painful enough, but this person decided to have it without it and just did it through hypnosis, and it worked. They said after they didn't feel pain. Then the observers watching it said they had so much pain watching this person going through the extraction, because I think he must be feeling it. He must be feeling it. We just showed you the power of.
Yeah, I think they've done all sorts of things. They've done some even heart surgery with things like acupuncture and all sorts of interesting things. And I think when you're in a big, accident and you're, and you've got the big fight or flight sort of response, then people have often not really felt much in the way of pain as well. And you hear stories of people have had an accidental amputation and they've run for miles with carrying their limb and things like that. Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was good. Sister Farah says something. Do we get signs from our dreams? If so, how do we identify? I think you're talking about the interpretation of the dreams, huh? It's a very difficult. Yeah, it's a very difficult question. Actually, there is no general rule. It's a kind of knowledge that is given to special people. Even in Quran, وَيَعْلَمُنِي مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ, the Prophet Yusuf said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself taught me the knowledge of ta'wil al-ahadith, or the interpretation of the sayings, the interpretation. One of them is the dreams. There is no general. There are books written on this, like depending on the narrations, some narrations. But even ulama or scholars would say these are not the final say on a dream. Like for example, one example is this: water is knowledge. So if you see in a dream that you are being given water to drink, means you will receive knowledge from somewhere. But this again, and this is very famous, we have a hadith for this, I think. But ulama say it's not the final say, because there are many other conditions determining the nature of the dream, whether the dream is a truthful dream or adghas ahlam, which is a false dream, your own subconscious. First of all, we should realize that the one who is seeing the dream or having the dream, whether he is just wandering his own subconscious, or he is actually making connection to something that we call it al-khiyal al-munfasal, the extended imagination, something like alam al-barzakh or the malakut, or things that are there. First, you need an expertise to realize, to discern which kind of dream you're dealing with, and do not waste your time with a dream that does not have clear interpretation. And then after you realize that this is a correct dream, that there is interpretation, for example, if the same dream that you have water in, if you see another sign, the meaning of this sign will change completely. So it happens in a matrix of all different signs. So it is true that water is knowledge if only you see water in dream. But if in your dream somebody else was present, so according to these people, it's completely different. And then you ask them, tell me like the general guidelines, or I don't know, whatever. They say it can't be said. Like I had a friend whose father, he's Sayyid actually, and you see, actually there are other false people in this business that doing, but this one, no, he's the right one. He's like a pious man, and he doesn't get money for this. And me personally, I have stories about interpreting dreams with him. I was correct, some of them very astonishingly. So this Sayyid, his son said, I asked my father, why don't you write a book? Why don't you at least teach me how to do this? Like, for example, he says, I don't know, I see it. When they tell their dream to me, in a fraction of a second, I see the meaning of their dream, and I tell them. So it's very complicated, and mostly they get it after they do something sincerely for God, like especially abstaining from a sin sincerely for Allah, as they reach that power. Generally about dreams, we should, if later on we get time, we can talk about the dreams interpretation.
I noticed, Sonia, you had your phone, you had your device unmuted, or are you busy? Yeah.
I just muted because my my kids are making a noise just now. No, I was just leaving it unmuted in case I had anything else to say. How do we know if how can we tell whether it's the dream is real or wishful thinking? Can we, or do we need to speak to like someone who's good at interpreting dreams? For example, I once had a dream where I met one of the imams, but I realised that it could be just my wishful thinking, you know, rather than actually having any significance. Or it was very nice anyway. So, mashallah.
Yes, sometimes it happens. We have a hadith about dream about the Prophet. Man ra'ani faqad ra'ani fa inna shaitan la yatamathal bi. Whoever sees me in a dream sees me in a dream, because shaitan cannot put himself in my shape. So we have some, or for example, if a dream takes place in hours leading to Fajr, it's a very good time for dream. If a dream takes place after Fajr until sunset, it's not, generally they dismiss it, the dream, and they say there's no interpretation. So good dreams are there. There are hadiths that only one share from 72 shares of nubuwwah, of prophethood, of prophecy, has remained for people, and that one share is good dreams that people see. And Prophet used to ask his companions every day after Fajr prayer, Hal min mubashirat, do you have any glad tidings? And he meant good dreams. He himself had dreams. In contrast to the wahy, he also had dreams. Like, for example, there's a hadith, because some people say these wahy and these mi'raj were kind of dream. No, Prophet himself could distinguish between dream and mi'raj. So he would tell his companions that I had this dream, and he didn't say it was a wahy or whatever. One dream that he told his companion was this, that he said, after the martyrdom of Hamza and Ja'far. We know that Hamza was martyred in Uhud, and Prophet loved Hamza, because if it wasn't for the brave reactions of Hamza and defense of the Prophet, in certain levels, Prophet could not succeed with his mission. So Hamza was martyred in Uhud, and Ja'far was martyred in Tabuk, when they were Muta. Muta. So Prophet, once after he finished Fajr prayer, he turned back to his companions and said, just before the prayer, I had a dream in which me and Hamza and Ja'far, we were sitting around a container or a bowl or a tray, in which they were a certain kind of fruit, the fruit of cedar tree. I don't know, how do you translate cedar into English? There is a tree in Arabic, it is called cedr. In Quran also is there, Sidratul Muntaha. So Prophet said the fruit of cedr were in front of us. Those two, when they tried to reach the cedr, it would turn into dates, and they would take dates from it. And with that sign, I realized I was in a dream. And so he said that the dream, that their position in Jannah, in paradise, being blessed with the bounties of Allah. Yes, good dreams are there, and there are signs for there are ways to realize what dream is good or not.
Yes, an observation from Farhat in her work.
Oh, when I'm taking a case, I always ask about dreams, that dreams are very important, as a lot of things and issues concerning the resolved through dreams also. Yes, dreams, not just in spiritual ways, in the physical ways also. You know about the subconscious and the role of the, actually dreams, the topic of dream was the gate for subconscious theory in psychiatrists' tradition. So what we were talking about was about the dreams that have connection to somewhere else, like but about the dreams that they have, they have keys, or they have like roots in the person's subconscious. In that area also, dreams are very important. The way they reveal a person's subconscious, and they can be analyzed, and many different things. Yes, that's correct. But generally, these dreams, for example, let me give you an example, a personal example. When I was in Hausa, last years of Hausa, I'm still in Hausa, but last years that I was in the school, in the Hujarat, we were living in the house. So my family, they were trying to find a case for marriage for me, and I wasn't aware of it myself. So one of the students that were lower in the grade, and we didn't know each other very much, he came to approach me one day and said, "Are you getting married in any way, or are you in the process of getting married?" I said, "I don't know, no." "Why do you ask?" He said, "Nothing." Again, he came to me after a while, and then at the second time, I had realized that yes, my family are searching for a case. So I said yes. He said, "I had a dream twice, the same dream, that you were being hung, you were being killed, right, executed at one of the main roundabouts in Qom, one of the main streets in Qom. You were being, and everybody was watching." So I was terrified. I went to there was a Sayyid Rouhani. He passed away. He was a very great scholar, and he knew the knowledge of dream, and he was the imam of prayer in one of the main mosques in Qom. So he said, I went to Sayyid Rouhani and I told him the dream. He said, the person is getting married. The interpretation is that the person is getting married. So I said, okay, I came to you, I asked you, you said no. And I said, and even when I said no, my family were actually doing the things. Then the second time I had a dream, I thought maybe he gave me a wrong interpretation. So I went to another person. The other person also for the same dream, he said, yes, he's getting married. And this is for, if you're killed, you're getting married. This is actually what's the situation. This is obvious, actually. Yeah. So he came to me, and so it's not just the subconscious of person, because apparently he didn't have anything to do with me. And even if he had, what relation is there between my marriage, which I was not aware of? So dreams are not just the disclosure of your own subconscious. Sometimes there are a connection to somewhere else. What's the best way to handle nightmares, and also what's causing? There are some tips. First of all, there are general tips, I mean physical tips, like for example, to have sleeping hours, to set your sleeping hours, a schedule, and to have good diet. Some people, they are sensitive for different things. You might be surprised, but I had a friend who had sensitivity to tomatoes. If he had tomatoes, he would feel anxiety. And if he had too much tomatoes, he would have sometimes these nightmares. And it's true. So sometimes it's the diet, and not this much freakish like tomatoes and nightmares. But generally they say if you have too much for the dinner, and it's true, and many other things. So there are physical steps that one should get, or there's something very common nightmare, that there are common nightmares like falling, like being late for the exam, like being chased, if there's a list if you refer. And there are some connections between these nightmares and your state of emotion. If you are, for example, being lost, if you are worried, if you are, so there are remedies for this in the physical level. There's also a state when you feel that you have been suffocated, and it actually is not something emotional, it's something physical happening here. So you feel the suffocation. I mean, your body goes through that process of not being able to breathe. Your imagination creates a picture for that in your dream. So there is that level that should be taken care of. Still, if a person does all of this and still he has nightmares or she has nightmares, there are things to do. First of all is the aqiq. I don't have my aqiq with myself, but aqiq is good. In our hadith, we have that this sometimes it has some effects with that. So to keep aqiq in the room that you sleep, or to keep Quran, a mushaf, in the room that you sleep, especially Ayat al-Kursi. You write it with your own hand, you put it on the wall, that you, so especially if the room that children are there or ladies are there, those who have more sensitive souls, children and women, Ayat al-Kursi, and then Bismillah at the door of the home, or the door of the bedroom. You say, write one little Bismillah and you put it there. And recitation of Ayatul Kursi before sleep. And this is actually has been recommended so much. If still it continued, then you have to consult a more expert on this. Otherwise, I had cases, and with these tips, the physical ones and those religious ones, most of them they alhamdulillah reached that calm dream that they needed.
Actually, the issue for me was seeing like either shadows or like weird creatures and beings, which really disturbed me, made me think, is it actually from shaitan, or is it from my own subconscious?
So what did you do?
Well, sorry?
What did you do? How it finished?
Well, in my dream, they would either like follow me, or there's like people fighting against the creatures. But once I became more religious, these sort of nightmares became less common.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I don't know whether it has some relation to the age of people or, for example, I used to have a dream of one of these. Sometimes this is actually one of my friends. He had this, not me. Mine was different. But the one of common nightmare is this: the feel of embarrassment that you find yourself that you don't have like clothes, proper clothes in a very formal session. So this friend of mine, he had this several times. So he went to a person who would interpret the dream, but the person who interpreted the dream for him was not a scholar, but he was a pious man and he was known for interpreting the dream. So he said, "You're getting married," uh, the, and it's strange. What's the relation? And it was true actually. He got married for that. Or once I had a dream that I have lost my ring. I had a ring and I loved it. It was like a aqiq ring. So in a dream, I had a dream that I have lost this ring. So I thought it might have a bad negative interpretation. I went to this Hajaga and he said, you will have a very successful exam passed, something like this. And that happened in the same year in the nationwide exam for the master's degree. I was the fifth in philosophy. So I wouldn't expect that myself. So sometimes actually they say if you want to, Ayatollah Bahjat would say this. Not Ayatollah Bahjat, all ulama would say this, that if you want to tell your dream to anyone, make sure that the person does not interpret it in a negative way. Some people are like this. They're open to negative thoughts. You tell them something and they twist it in a negative way. So first of all, you should make sure that you tell your dream to those who put it in a positive way. And there is a hadith that the dream is floating. Your dream is floating. Once it has been interpreted in a certain way, it will be fixed in that way, right? So you have a dream, it is floating. Make sure you tell it to a person who fixes it in a positive way. That's one thing. If you see a dream, it's very scary, and you think there is an bad interpretation for it, and you don't trust anyone to tell the dream, it's better not to tell the dream first. Second, Adil Bacha says this: you put a sadaqah, you give a charity. We know that charity has a lot of effects. One of them is that it changes the negative things in our life, right? So Ayatollah Bacha says, whatever dream that you have, whether negative or positive, give charity. Because if the interpretation of the dream is positive, this charity will hasten that interpretation, or makes the appearance, the coming of the interpretation easier. If the dream had negative interpretation, then this sadaqah will block the way of that negative thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was going to say that I find that doing wudu as well before going to sleep has a big effect, well, on me personally, in terms of dreams. Sometimes I've had bad dreams as well, particularly people chasing me. But usually I escape by flying, which is very odd. But it's a very recurring dream that I have. But I do find that it's lessened when I remember to do wudu and things before I go to sleep.
Good. Specifically for wudu before a dream, we have a hadith that the soul of a believer is taken to God during a sleep. So let no believer go to bed without wudu. But sometimes it's difficult to always do it. And unfortunately, we have an exemption for that. And we have two ahadiths that our ulama have given fatwa on this. That if you forget to take wudu for sleep, it's okay for you to do tayammum. The only time that tayammum is accepted while there is water, because every time when you have water, tayammum is like useless. But the only time that tayammum is accepted when you have water is for the dream, and you're in your bed, you want to sleep, so you do tayammum with the blanket. Ala farashih, we have in the hadith, with the blanket or with the whatever, the bed, and then that will do.
Sheikhna, what about, I'm sure this will be a follow-up question as well, people that have these dreams but they don't have these experts around, like in Qom, where you can just go down the street and you'll have a interpreter of dreams. What other options are there?
These experts that I tell you, they're not easily accessible. This Sayyid that I told you, they have a their family, they have specified a telephone line specifically for the dream. And his son would tell me, I would plug the telephone inside and it is ringing. So they have an hour. They announced, for example, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Haj Agha is interpreting the dream. So his son tells me, I plug the telephone, it starts ringing, and it is ringing on 6 that I unplug it. So, and it's very difficult to find this. I don't know, actually. It's one of the disadvantages. Maybe you can find, actually, sometimes it's difficult to find trustworthy people. And these people, the ones that I know, one of them actually passed away last year. But one of them is there still, but they're not at all active in like internet, or they do it in a very traditional way, like in the telephone and in person. I don't know. But this general tip of Ayatollah Bahjat is very good. To give sadaqah after you have a dream that you think it has a meaning, whether bad or good. So inshallah that will fix it in a positive way or block it if it is negative.
Sheikhna, quickly, I know we're sort of running out of time. I've got questions and it's probably because of these it seem like nightmares, and they're leading to people's marriages. What du'ats and practical steps can one take to find a good mu'min wife or husband? I know that probably needs a whole session itself. But.
Yeah. No. You see, the issue of marriage nowadays, I think Ayatollah Bahjat has something on this. I try to find it out. There are different advice on this. For example, I think recitation of Surah Yasin is helpful. Recitation of Surah Yasin and intending its reward to be a gift to Lady Narjis, the mother of Imam al-Asr. Right? So you recite the Surah Yasin, you intend the reward of it to be a gift to Lady Narjis, alayhi salam, the mother of Imam al-Asr. This is, I'm not sure if it was by Ayatollah Bahjat or by another or one of other scholars. But generally, sometimes it's even when you do some, for example, for us nowadays, it's been 3 months that we are trying to get ticket to Iran from here, and we are in lockdown, and we actually, but sometimes it's not I don't know, it's not the case. If you go close to it and something else happens, we find ticket and something else happens, so you're in a floating situation. Sometimes in terms of marriage, it's like that. It's the wisdom of Allah for you to wait. There are reasons, and let's be patient and see what happens.
Thank you, Sheikhna. I think, and we'll grab you onto that. Inshallah, that was a prelude for inshallah. We're going to have more sessions after Ramadan, inshallah. So we'll address many other topics as well. Okay, we're coming to the sort of final minutes of this session, inshallah. Is there any reflections or I'm keen to even just get some reflections from people and feedback if they want to, with the Sheikh present as well, just so we can help in future sessions, inshallah. Yes, Luna.
Yeah, I could add. I have a bit of a random question, but first I'll share like a couple of reflections. I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time. But also the story at the beginning about the microphone really made me laugh, so thank you for sharing that. Just in terms of just a couple of, I know obviously I was very late, so into coming to these sessions, so apologies for that. But just a couple of reflections from the ones that I did join into. Something I really liked about the one from a couple of nights ago was this idea of standing up against injustice as being part of faith and being part of Islam. That was really interesting to me, and I was glad that that was raised because I, of course, agree that that's something really important. So it was just nice to hear that that's kind of an important part of the faith, if that makes sense. What else? I was going to say something else and I've forgotten now. My kind of random question that just came to me for some reason during the session was that I remembered someone telling me that there's, obviously we talk about hasad and the evil eye as being something, I guess, Islamic, but I remember someone telling me that you can kind of give the evil eye unintentionally, like even if you say mashallah, or even if you don't wish bad things on someone. So I was curious if you know about that, or if that's something obviously that is quote unquote true, that there's things that we do to kind of avoid that, because obviously we don't want that to be something that that happens unintentionally, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah, that opens a discussion about how much is there in the evil. We have some discussions about the evil eye, about gemstones, about tatayyur and tafa'ul. So generally, if I want to give it very concise, the idea is that there are sometimes realities for this. Like, for example, we have a lot of ahadith saying that keeping aqiq will keep you safe from evil eye, from poverty, from whatever. And also we have this hadith that when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a child, so he was given to a Halima, I don't know how to put it, nanny, babysitter, or so Halima one day would put a stone over the neck of the Prophet, like a bracelet or whatever. And when the Prophet said, as a child, he said, "What is the use for this?" And he would call him mom. What's the use for this, mom? Halima said, "This will keep you safe, keep you safe." The Prophet said, "My God will keep me safe," and he threw that away. So the question is, if there are effects of these things, why the Prophet did this? The answer is that you have to understand all of this in the structure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being at the top, right? This is a pyramid of causality, and whatever happens under the direction of Allah, right? Those who are taking it in a very excessive way, like for example, it happens even when you say mashallah, it happens even when you do things. No, we actually don't believe this, because the one who has told us this, he has also told us the remedies for this. Like for example, the tatayyur, giving bad omen. The Prophet said, if you do tawakkul, if you give sadaqah, if you continue and you ignore it, nothing bad will happen to you. So for the evil eyes, they say if you give sadaqah, if you put the remedies, and then there is no need to worry more about it, because it happens. We do not regard them as independent causes. We do not. Otherwise, it is outside the system of Tawheed. And this is important to note, that whatever that are there about these issues, some of them actually are superstitions denounced by Islam. Those that are accepted, actually, we have ahadith, ijmalan means to some extent they're acceptable. They should be understood in that complete structure. Yes, as I happen to realize that some people actually they're interested in this discussion. It's a very good discussion to have one session, inshallah, in the next Ramadan or whenever, that we talk about the this as well. What is the extent, first of all, and then what are these things? Do we have supportive ahadith for them, and what is the extent for them? I think sometimes there are exaggerations over that.
Thank you, Sheikhna. Inshallah, it'll be much sooner than next Ramadan, inshallah, if we are given the opportunity. I think we're going to call it to a close, unfortunately, alhamdulillah. Sonia, you've just unmuted.
It was just to say on behalf of everyone, I just want to say Jazakallah khair, and thank you so much to the Sheikh for joining us and sharing his amazing knowledge. Brother Ahmed as well for all your hosting and wonderful efforts, and Sayyid Ali who's not here as well. So I just wanted to say thank you. It's very much appreciated. Inshallah everyone benefits a lot and gains a lot that they can take forward in the rest of the year. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to say, I wish hosting was this easy, where you just sit on a seat and you switch on your laptop. That's it, pretty much. You have to set up anything or anything.
You're too humble.
No, actually, no. I have to say, I actually appreciate Brother Ahmed because in these processes, there are moments that you are, as he said, you are in despair. Sometimes you think it doesn't work out. And then it's only a great determined person who can put it forward and push it forward. And later on, people realize, you see something happening and you think that it has come out of the air. But if there wasn't the determination of that one person at that one moment, so I think Brother Ahmed, with all the difficulties, so he managed well, and alhamdulillah, keeping alive this network circle of people, and inshallah he can expand it later on, enlarge the circle.
You make it sound like it's me. It's very much a team effort we have at the GAA in Glasgow. Definitely, it's very much a combined effort. So nothing is decided or agreed unless it's done in.
Yeah, it doesn't exclude others. It doesn't exclude my appreciation. Actually, include other brothers that I don't know, or Brother Syed, who is not with us. Maybe tonight he's doing the last night's amal because.
Alhamdulillah, no, that's just exactly what Sonia said. She nailed the main point. So I think a great sense of gratitude to you and your time, and inshallah, this situation that we're in is not going to go away anytime soon. So inshallah, we'll have a more regular program. If you can contribute, inshallah, in the future, so that we can benefit from you once again, inshallah. And already we've got a couple of topics that we're going to probably bombard you with in the future, inshallah. I think
just would love to have the Sheikh back. Thank you so much. It has been so good and reflecting on every single thing every night that we've attended, and really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to the team and Ahmed, yes, yourself as well, seriously, for putting it on. Take the credit.
Thank you for your participations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Farah. Okay, so inshallah we're going to conclude, inshallah. I think Sheikhna, appropriate once again with the tragic events that happened. It also was, I believe it was Sister Aya's funeral. I got notified about it this morning. It was taken in Lebanon. And obviously the plane crash in Karachi in Pakistan as well as all around the world, all the sufferings and so forth and so on. If we recite Amin Ujib and also Fatiha and Salawat, of course, with your permission.
Oh yeah, inshallah. We start by reciting a salawat, after that a Fatiha, and then we do the Amin Ujib. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. Just as Brother Syed said last night, I think if we do the dua of Faraj, especially at the last night, that this is the night that we call Laylatul Jawaz in our hadith. So if we want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for any gift, for any blessing, the key for that blessing to be complete is the Faraj. So let's recite together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. اللهم كن بوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وهب لنا رأفته ورحمته ودعاءه وخيره واجعلنا من خير أعوانه وأنصاره برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات. اللهم صل على محمد.
Thanks a lot for your lectures, and thank you for resolving my inner conflicts.
Thank you very much for your participation.
Eid Mubarak.
Yeah, Eid Mubarak to all.
Eid Mubarak, everyone. Inshallah.
Mubarak, thank you.
Inshallah.
Mubarak, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Inshallah, we'll join at the prayer tomorrow.
Yeah, see you there.
Assalamu.
So.